Justin, a new teaching method has been discovered. Project-based learning is a hot new method in the education community. I'm Angela Baxter, reporting education news, straight to you.
I'm Bill Jones, also reporting education news to you. Angela, tell us more about project-based learning. What's the big idea within this new method?
Bill, I am so glad you asked. Project-based learning is a new teaching and learning method where students are immersed in learning through hands-on research and projects. These projects start with a problem or challenge and allow students to design their projects and research questions from those real-world issues or challenges.
So, Angela, you're telling us that students use projects based on real-world scenarios to learn about the required curriculum content?
That's exactly what I'm saying, Bill.
So what would a problem-based learning classroom look like?
Well, Bill, let's check out this clip from Sunny Park's lesson called A Table for 22. This lesson is on perimeter and area. It shows how to connect perimeter and area to real-world scenarios.
Students enter the room and you start with a whole group lesson just so that you can get them all on the same page and they're all listening, and you start with a challenge. We're going to pretend that we all want to sit together for a Thanksgiving dinner, and I want the table to be rectangular. The challenge is this. I want you to figure out, what does the table look like if it must be rectangular and if everybody must sit at the table?
Thank you, Angela, for that video clip. Today we have Sunny Park here with us to tell us about the role of a teacher in project-based learning.
Angela, Tom, thank you so much for having me here today. My role as a teacher in project-based learning is to act as the facilitator and guide to my students. It is my job to ask meaningful questions. These meaningful questions guide students to seek out answers to these questions. It sparks our path of research. These questions may start off with a problem or challenge that the project is centered around. The project may include research, demonstration, or a model. Student projects may be completed in groups or individuals, but each is different. It is my job to help students develop their research skills and observe their work. These are many of the products students may create using the project-based learning model.
Thank you, Sunny, for being here today. You have taught us so much about the role of a teacher in project-based learning. We will now go over to Brittany Locke, who is going to tell us about the role of the student and the process they follow in project-based learning.
So today, we're going to look at, with this picture, the role of the student in project-based learning, and then the process that the students might follow, or the steps that they might use in the project-based learning. So the student's role is they usually work in small groups that work, collaborative groups on projects. Sometimes they work individually, but it's more often that they work in groups. And so what the student does is, well, the teacher or a guide will give the student a problem. And so the process that the student will use once they're given this problem is that they will conduct their research. They will find resources. They will find other things that might help them find their solution or get to their solution. They're also checking in with each other in the group as per the process in project-based learning. So they are researching, they're checking in with each other, they're coming up with a plan. And so this picture right here shows a robotics team. And these students are in charge of researching the robot, researching how to overcome the task or challenge. They're to design, engineer, and program the robot by all working together. So that goes back to the checking in with each other. And these students are task managers within this project-based learning. They are to make sure that they stay on task, or make sure that they are going in the right footsteps. It is the teacher's role here to guide the students in the right footsteps, as well as to help them to stay on task. So the role of the student is ultimately to come up with their own research and solution, and that process is by taking that problem and looking at ways of how they can solve that problem, and then they are to implement and test that problem in their solutions.
Thank you, Brittany, for that great explanation. One of the downfalls to this method of learning is that students may have trouble staying on task during their research. Another obstacle is for teachers to be able to assess students' progress through their research. One way to help overcome these obstacles is for the teachers to allow the students to pick a topic that they are very interested in. Another way to help overcome this obstacle is for the teacher to monitor the students' progress and research. It may be a good idea for teachers to have students make a research log on what new information they discovered, how it relates, where they found it, and then for the student to date the log. Teachers may check this log to help monitor progress. It also helps the student to self-assess their progress.
There are many advantages and disadvantages of learning methods, including project-based learning. Advantages of project-based learning include, it's student-centered, more enjoyable by students, requires deeper thinking skills, develops helpful workforce skills. For the teachers, it increases class attendance, promotes student responsibility, pushes students to spend more time studying. For the school as a whole, it makes students' learning a priority, helps keep students' attention, and shows that the school values teaching. With advantages, always comes disadvantages. Disadvantages in project-based learning could be that it may take away time from other subjects. It could create anxiety because it is not as structured as traditional learning. It requires more prep time by teachers, and teachers have a difficult time creating problems for students. Another issue for teachers is that it is not as easy to assess. For the school, it requires the school to think outside the box rather than traditional thinking. It may also require additional training for teachers and staff.
Thank you, Tom, for presenting us the advantages and disadvantages of project-based learning. We will now look at the research about project-based learning. This research is brought to you by Topia and presented by Tom. According to research by Topia, project-based learning helps students to be more excited about learning. It helps students to learn more and enjoy what they learn. Topia looked at 5 different research articles written about project-based learning and the positive outcomes it produces. Research has also presented the idea that project-based learning improves problem-solving and collaboration skills. These skills are important in the workforce. In today's workforce, it is very important to be able to collaborate and communicate in groups. It is also important to be a problem solver. Most employers give their employees a task and expect them to be able to use their problem-solving skills to resolve the issue. This is why project-based learning is important, because it prepares students for the workforce.
Angela, thank you for delivering those facts. We have had a great segment on education news today. Thank you, Angela, for your hard work, and thanks to Sunny Park for coming in today. We would also like to thank Brittany Locke for talking with us as well. I am Tom, reporting new and incoming education news, straight to you.